Well, hello there, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Fox, and welcome to the first episode of Legendary Discussions. I had to put emphasis on the legendary. It felt like it needed it. This will be a regular show in which I'll kind of discuss the issues that have arisen over League of Legends that day or within that week, as well as within the player base, or at least within the mindset of us players. We tend to be a fickle bunch. So let's get this baby started. The calculation of ELO will be today's question, the one we are going to attempt to tackle, and boy oh boy, this is a doozy. Does it really measure how well you play? I mean, that's one of the biggest questions that any of us can ask, is it a real measure? Is it something that we should have confidence in? Because it certainly has confidence within us. So, I'll explain that joke later. So, one of the biggest points that I wanted to make with this was that the other day, a math professor put out a discussion to show how ELO is calculated and the accuracies and inaccuracies within that system. Now, I'm not going to go through the equation or anything like that. I won't bore you with those details. But needless to say, once he was done explaining everything, it did come out that, yes, the system, quote unquote, I'm going to put imaginary quotes around that, is accurate for the most part. You know, as far as if you were to perform the same every game and you were really, really good at what you do and you lost some, you won some, so on and so forth, yes, the game, or ELO rather, is quite accurate. But that only goes so far. What he had described it as is almost like it is a steep to flattening out curve. You know, you have those initial games where Riot has set its neutral point of around 1200 ELO. This is like your standard place. So once they set this point, they had decided that each one of the placement games will be worth a great deal, since the system that is measuring you, now here's the confidence part, the system that's measuring you doesn't have any confidence in whether or not it is measuring you correctly. So, let's say you are playing your first 10 games, which are your placement matches, and you get to game 6 and you haven't lost. Even though you are doing extraordinarily well, it's still only 6 games, because this ELO system is trying to take into account the amount of times you've played over a year, or X amount of time, and decide, okay, do you belong in the 1300s or do you belong in the 1900s? Even though going from 1200 to 1900 is quite difficult, it's doable. So that's kind of what he had described. He had described it as an accurate system, as it really was. But the way that I see it is a slight bit of flaw. Just a little bit. I love the system itself, but hear me out. So, the way that it works is you get those massive, massive gains when you start out. We're all okay with that. But about 20 to 30 games in, you'll start to drop a considerable amount. Game 10, you might gain or lose 40 some odd points of ELO. Game 15, you may win or lose 40 to 30 some odd points of ELO. Game 30-ish, where you start to be around where I'm at the moment, you'll be winning and losing around 18 to 20 some odd ELO. Now, this is only about 30 games, and already the system has dropped from, you know, its point of origin, which is that 1200 zero confidence, where you're gaining 40 plus ELO, to half in only 20 games. Now, we can assume that the average person will play a great deal more than 20 to 30, 40 games within the time period allotted by Riot themselves, which averages out to about a year. This, to me, falls off far too quickly. It makes it so that people who are just starting the game or go on a bad streak, which I will get into in a minute, really, really have a hard time coming back, because when the system starts to gain confidence on your performance that early, it almost feels like the system, it's trying to hold you back. Like it's not giving you enough time and not giving you enough allotted time to reach that high point. Now, don't get me wrong, it's not impossible. I mean, look at the professional players. Hotshot GG, Elements, all of them, they're in the 1900s, 1800s, 2000s already and doing quite well. But you have to think that when they came in, they were balanced towards 1200 like everyone else, but they weren't balanced to 1200. So they were up at 1700 when they started. Therefore, they were playing against the same people that they were used to playing against at that point. So when they had started playing and that the ELO system rather started gaining confidence on them, it wasn't truly measuring. It wasn't measuring 100% of their performance as far as at that time. It was measuring them against players that they are already being measured against, if you follow me here, instead of new players. And these other players, like, okay, let's take myself for example. I was 1630 or something like that last season. This season, I reached a cap of 1630, 1640, and then I started dropping. And this is simply because, everyone has those bad streaks, and I'm on one at current, where you go and you just can't win a game. I mean, you may win the lane, you may do your best, but the system is already gaining confidence in your performance, confidence, quote unquote, to where it thinks it knows where you're supposed to go. Even though a person like me, say I'm dropping, I am currently in the 1400s because I have lost so much, but it doesn't think that I'll be able to go back up. It's dropping faster than I can actually gain. So I'll have to play almost double the games to get back up to the same point that I was at. This is the issue that I see with it, is that it may drop a little too fast. Speaking of bad streaks, are they all part of the plan? Are they bad luck? Or are they simply a lack of performance from the player during a set amount of time? And personally, I think it's a combination of all three. So, lack of performance. Yes, we all have those times where you want to right-click that minion and you end up right-clicking the ground and you walk straight into the enemy team and die. So, yeah, we all have those times. Bad luck. It was described as there was no such thing as luck in League of Legends, and I would like to strongly disagree with that sentiment. I believe that there is there is more luck in League of Legends than you would like to think. But it's not luck in-game. Luck in-game is just one of those happenstance things where you live with 12 health, not because you know your champion, but because you just happen to escape. I mean, when you start getting that low, that is luck. It really is. Luck in League of Legends comes with who you're partnered with. If you are partnered with people who are competent on that day, if you're partnered with people who are within your domain, then they may, for example, they may actually be 1600 players, like say myself, and I'm currently down in the 1400s. I'm playing against people who weren't even ranked last season at this point, and it's like, okay, how much trust do I have in them? Am I lucky enough to get people who happen to be in the right circumstance to where they want to actually perform? So, I think, personally, that there is a great deal more luck in League of Legends than we would like to let on. And as for it being all part of the plan, we all know that's not true. We all want to win 100% of the time, and sometimes we just get outplayed. That's just the way of things. So, as far as where this ends, ELO, what a fickle beast she is. She really is one of those things where you may perform to the best of your abilities and you just can't pull it out. And the system is flawed in that case. I do sincerely believe. Maybe it's not flawed in the calculation. Maybe it's not flawed, rather, in the way that the system is brought up. I mean, the system itself is good. There's no question about that. But what makes me question ELO as a system is that it does take into account only if you win or lose. It doesn't take into account performance in that game. You may be a beast in that game. I mean, you might rock it. Now, we all know if you're playing a Darius, you might have a crap ton of kills, and you may have a lot of assists, and you may still lose because you've starved your team out. But say you play an incredible game, and you really feel like you outplayed absolutely everyone, and then at the end, you happen to lose because your team can't exactly perform to the level that you are performing to. Even though you might do that, you are going to be punished. You are going to lose ELO in those cases. And to be honest, I really wish the system would take, maybe not all. Okay, maybe not to where you lose a game and you'll gain ELO. That doesn't really make sense. But maybe to where you lose a game and you don't lose nearly as much if your performance matches that of a higher player, of a higher caliber of player, mind you, not an individual player per se. So I think that it would be better if ELO took into account a little bit of how you did as an individual, as well as the performance of the entire team, which ergo is the outcome of the game, whether you won or lost. So that's just my 2 cents on it, though. My 2 cents is that the system is really good. You know, if it comes down to it, and we want to discuss this, the system is good. It feels great. It might scale a little bit too fast, especially counting, you know, how big a gap there is between the professional players and people like me who are around the 1600s. I mean, we're playing at around 85-ish% of what, 90% of what a pro does. There's just minor differences that bump them up. But for someone who wants to gain and catch up to these people, it's really, really difficult to do if you are simply playing, if it's simply measuring you as a team and not as an individual within the team, if you understand what I'm saying. So, that's what I think, guys. ELO, for itself, when it comes down to it, good system, could use a little adjustment, but as they've said, before Season 3, they are going to be doing some adjusting on the way that it works, although I do really hope that they do it soon, because some of us do like to play. So, leave your thoughts. What do you guys think? Do you think that ELO is in the right spot? Do you think it's maybe far too harsh? I mean, let me know. Leave all your comments in the comment section below, quite obviously. Like if you really liked it, and if you guys want to hear more of this and you want to hear the daily, every other day. I'm thinking about doing this every Monday, Wednesday, Friday. If you want to listen to these discussions and contribute to the discussion, I'll be posting them on the League of Legends forum. Subscribe. I'll have these going out all the time. I do all sorts of other videos. Go ahead. But as for today, guys, I am out, and we'll see you guys next time.